Hello and welcome to a brand new crafting tutorial with myself, Anthony Minnis. I hope you like the content for this particular video where I'll be showing you how I created this canvas using moulds from both Zuri and from Prima, as well as lots of paints and pastes from both Prima and Viva Decor. If you like the video, please be sure to click the like button. And if you want to see more videos, please subscribe to my channel and also hit the notifications button, which will enable you to get notifications of all brand new video content that I produce for this channel. Well, without further ado, let me get into showing you how I created this canvas. So we have our beautiful angel design here, a seated angel from Zuri. Now what I've actually done with this one, I have used the air drying clay. Now you can use anything from Hearty to FMM to Das clay, entirely up to you. Now when you've done that, you can actually colour the clay, or you can leave it and colour everything after, entirely up to you. If you're going to colour things afterwards, the one problem you may have is trying to get the skin tone. So that's what I'm going to show you on this part of the demonstration, how to get the perfect skin tone. And you may be surprised at what colours you actually use to get the skin tone. So the sort of the colour we're wanting to mix up is this one here, which is like a skin tone colour. There's also a lighter version there, so it's up to you. So to get this sort of colour, the colours you're actually going to need are a white acrylic paint, and then you can use any type of medium that you so wish, but it's got to be an orange and it's got to be a magenta. So what we're going to do, just make sure that you mix up enough of the paint to start with. So I'm going to put a fair amount of the white paint on just there. Okay, and then we're going to mix in our two colours. So like I said, the two colours are a magenta colour, okay, which is just there, okay, and then just simply mix that in using a paintbrush. So let's just grab the paint and just mix that in. Okay, start off with a small amount. You can always add the colour, it's more difficult to take it away. So there we go. So we've just got a little tone of the pink in there, so we're just going to add a little bit more. So again, just pop that onto your non-stick surface or your glass mat, wherever you do your colour mixing, and then just take that colour in. Okay, make sure that you thoroughly mix all of the paint, and then you're going to be good to go. So at the moment we've got like a pink colour going on there, okay, but it's sort of like quite pale really. So I'm just going to grab our sheet of paper that has the colour that we're aiming for, okay, which is this one here. I'm just going to pop that by the side. So at the moment, we're nothing like it at all. So it needs a little bit of warmth in there, okay. So the colour you're going to want to pop in next is the orange, okay. So again, I'm just going to pop a little bit of orange, okay, onto our mixing palette. And then we're going to mix that in. Okay, so again, thoroughly mix it in. Okay. So grab all your paint and keep on going. Okay. So just keep on checking to see if you've achieved the right sort of colour. Another thing to do is to actually paint it onto the tip of your finger, and that'll give you a pretty good idea as well. But I'm just going to bring in our colour palette again, so you can see now we're achieving almost the colour that we have here. And in actual fact, that's not too bad. Maybe I just want to add a little bit more of the magenta, so I'm just going to pop that up here, okay, and mix that in. And then we'll have a look at the orange again. again, just going to go for some orange. Just there, we're going to get quite a lot of that because we really want to warm that skin tone up. At the moment it looks a little bit on the cold side. Okay, so just drag all that colour, paint, and give that a good old mix. So it's always best to mix up quite a bit of the colour that you actually want, so then if you do have to patch anything in, you've got it there for a later date. Okay, let's have a look and see how that colour tone is going. I actually want a really pale sort of skin tone colour anyway, and if you want deeper then just add more of the colour. So let's just have a look. You know, I think I'm going to go for that. Okay, so I've gone for a really light skin tone colour there. So it's then just directly onto your piece you're working with. I'm just going to paint that in. Now if you are using paper air drying clay, then what I'd recommend is that you just leave that to air dry for about 15 minutes, and then we can add a little bit of tone to that skin colour. So we have the skin tone done. We're just going to add a little bit of a darker tone. So the colour we're going to want to be using is the orange. So just add a little bit of orange down there, a little bit of the paint. Okay, obviously you don't want it too dark, so just keep on adding the white, or the original skin tone colour, should I say. So just keep on using that. So at the moment it is quite orange, so just keep on adding the white back into it. Okay, so just give that a little bit of a mix. Okay, just keep on adding that original skin tone colour. And then if you've got your original palette that you did, just pop some down by the colour that you achieved to start, which is this one here. So there we go, we've got that distinctive change of colour there. Okay, so once you've got to that, take off the majority of the paint on your brush, because we're going to be using the dry brush technique now. Okay, so just make sure you have the majority of that off. Okay, and then using your brush, just very, very gently, just go over, and it's literally just almost tickling the top of the clay. Just build it up, just very, very lightly. Okay. So it's just literally just touching the very high points of the cast. So just keep on going round, like I say, making sure that you haven't got too much paint on your brush, and then just keep on building the colour up to get that darker skin tone, and it's just going to bring out some of the shadows and the shading of the skin. Okay. So now I'm getting a really nice just tonal change of skin. We're just going to go a shade darker. So again, we're just going to use our orange, pop that onto the pad. I'm just going to introduce a little bit more of the orange into our mix. Like I say, you do have to be really quite subtle about it. and just mix that in. So now we've got quite a bit of a darker tone there to what we originally had. So again, I'm just going to bring in our original piece here. I'm just going to pop that down the side so you can see we've gone that shade darker again. Okay, and like we did before, I'm just going to change this round. Okay, so I'm just going to take off that paint that's on our brush. So there's very little paint going on again, and I'm just going to brush over those same parts on the skin again, just to add an even darker skin tone to that. And as I said, you do really want it so it's subtle, so it's not a real big difference in change. It's a very soft change of colour from one to the other. So I'm just going to go in there. Just going to add a little bit more of the colour back onto the brush. Just go down there. And there is our little angel there with the skin tone. Just nice. So if you want, you can go back over with the lighter colour and maybe highlight some areas with some white mixed into our original colour, but I think I'm going to leave like that and now colour the rest of the little angel. If you are going to be force drying the paint on top of the clay, then just be sure to hold the heat gun a little bit away from the clay so it doesn't bubble up, and then you should be okay. So I'm just adding the detail on the wings there, so I've done like a brown wash with that. I'm just going to add a little bit of detail now on the hair, and then I'll do the clothes as well. So now I'm just going to go in between where the chin and the arm and the leg are. So that is hair down there. So we're going to take our hair colour, which is this one just here, and we're just going to add a little bit of the white into that. Okay, just like so. So you can just see a little bit of white on there. And I'm just going to mix that in. Okay, mixing all of the black there, or the dark brown. Okay, and this one here. Okay, right, so again we're going to use the dry brush technique. So we want to take the majority of the paint actually off the brush. So I'm just going to go onto my glass mat because I've run out of room there. Okay, so just take the majority of that off. Okay. I'm just going to go on to there, and I'm just going to add a few little highlights, and that's all it is, just adding the highlights that are already in place, the highest areas of your cast piece. Okay, so I'm just going to keep on just going over, so building up the colour. So you know, that is really quite subtle, but it's just nice, just nice. Okay, so a little bit more just around there. this is where you need a really steady hand. Okay, now I'm just going to see if I can grab some of that colour there. Okay, and see if we can go down to that middle bit, just a couple bits in there. Okay, right, so there we go. So now I'm just going to colour her clothes there. So I think we're going to go for like pinks and purples. Okay, I've got sort of like a purple there, so I'm just going to add a little bit of white onto our glass mixing mat here. Okay, probably that will do. And then we just want a little bit of this colour here, just like a purple. Okay, just a tiny little bit. These paints are quite pigmented, so I'm just going to find a reasonable brush to use. So let's have a look. Okay, got that one there. Just give that a little bit of a mix in. Okay, like so. And that's the sort of tone I want. I don't want anything really too dark. I think that's probably going to work quite nicely. So I think I'm going to go probably for a wash, I think, with this. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of water into our paint mix there. And then nearly throw the paint over it, as you can see. So let's just go in with that wash. So just be very careful up to that point there. And then just let that flow in there like so. Okay, so it's a really light colour. Okay, so then I'm just going to just dry that a little bit, and then we're just going to wipe it off. Okay, that should be enough. And then just making sure I've got a fairly clean-ish part of my cloth there. Okay, without any real dark brown bits on. And then I'm just going to wipe that off. Okay, right, let me just dry that. Okay, so just pop that down. And then just very lightly just start to brush some of that off, wipe that off. Okay, right. So let's have a look, just make sure I've got all the areas that I want. So just a little bit more paint just there on the underside. Okay. Just a little bit. Okay. So we've still got our original colour, which is the skin tone, which is always going to come in handy if you need to touch any bits in. So I'm just going to use some of that. I've just gone into the arm there a little bit. So we're just going to go over that. And this is using the lighter colour that we have. So I'm just going to go in there, just go around the back of the neck. Okay, Okay, we have our original colour there, so I'm just going to add some white just there, and then just going to take some of that colour and we're going to mix it in. So there you go, you can see there the difference we've already got. Okay, so again, I'm just going to dry brush that on, so take a majority of the paint off, and then we're just going to dry brush that on. So it's literally just picking up on the highlighted areas there of the clothes. There we go. So the cloth is just draping down there, that's working really nicely. So just build up the colour, don't try to do it all in one go. Okay, so just a little dab on there. The smaller the amount the better. Make sure our brush is nice and dry, and then we're just going to take some of that white onto our brush, and we're just going to add that over the top to get some real highlights there on the cloth. It's draped round, or draping down there. Okay. Okay, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of white also to our feathers, and again it is just the smallest amount. So now it's time to add a little bit of gold to those wings. I've got two metallics here from Prima. We have the Ancient Coin, we have the Gold Rush. I think I'm going to go for the Ancient Coin, which is this one here, because it's a little less on the sort of like the gold brassy side. So let's just have a look. Okay, so I'm just going to take some off there. Literally go onto the mat. I'm just going to start brushing some gold onto the wings there, just very, very lightly. Okay. Okay, there's the beautiful gold on there. So I'm just going to leave that one to dry for a little bit, and then we're going to add this one here, which is another metallic, but this is a really beautiful colour. It's sort of like a pearl, but it does sort of like have that blue tingeing, so I'm going to put that onto the cloth area of the little gown that she's wearing. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a shake. Okay, and then we're just going to open it up. Like I say, it has got that blue tingeing. Okay, so this one is called White Pearl. So let's just take the other seal off. So if you look in there, you maybe just see, there we go, a little bit of that blue showing through. So again, just like we did the gold, pop that on there. I think you can see the blue straight away there. There we go. Okay, and then we're just going to just very lightly just brush that on. So it's just a hint of that blue, that's nice. So I'm going to go too wild. And there we have our angel all painted up. So we're going to add this now to the bigger project. So the next step is to actually place her within a crescent moon. So we're going to cut a crescent moon using some 2mm cardboard. So I'm just drawing in my moon here on my crescent moon. So I'm just using a compass. So it's entirely up to you what sort of size you go for. But I've rubbed out quite a few lines just to have a play. So I think that's probably about it. So the angel will be sitting there, sort of like in the crescent moon. So I'm going to cut this one out. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a nice cut in a 2mm thick piece of cardboard. So we're going to be cutting a moon shape out of a 2mm thick piece of cardboard. Now what I would recommend is that you get a brand new blade in your craft knife before you even start. The most important thing also is to remember that you're not going to be cutting through 2mm of cardboard straight away. So first of all, just place your craft knife into your card, and as you can see I'm also cutting on a green mat as opposed to the glass mat because I find that easier. And then we are basically just going to start scoring. Okay, so we're not cutting all the way through, we're just scoring, just very, very gently, the outer line. So just go all the way around, and as you can see what I'm doing, I keep on moving the cardboard as I go. Okay, and then, like I say, we're just scoring into that cardboard. So just keep on going all the way around. Okay. Turning the cardboard as we go. Okay, so we have gone round once, so now we have a really nice groove for the blade now to travel in. Okay, so make sure that when you do your cutting that you keep your blade in an upright position. Now when I mean upright, okay, I mean that the blade, or you're not holding the blade at an angle like so. Okay, so just in an upright position, and then again just start to add a little bit of pressure, but your blade is now guided by that original groove that you've actually put in your piece of cardboard. Okay, so again we're not going to be cutting through straight away, we're just going to keep on turning that around, just applying a little bit of pressure, and don't do this fast, so just go at a nice speed so you can apply the pressure and make sure that your blade doesn't come out of that little groove that you originally put in there. Okay, so just keep on going around again to the starting position, which was about there. So now you can start to see that the cardboard, if you bend it, you're getting a gape there. So we're probably about 3/4 of the way through. So again, just keep on going round. So apply a little bit more pressure. Okay, twist. Keeping that blade in an upright position. And then turn it. So you will notice the blade is not actually coming out of the cardboard at all, it's always left in there, and I can always see where I'm cutting to, so I'm not hiding any of the line or the groove that was originally there. So you always want to see where you're cutting to. Right, I'm going to take the knife out now. As you can see, there's a nice dark score line round. Okay, if we go on to the other side, we're not quite through yet, but we're not far away. So just keep on going around as I've done there until you're totally through your cardboard. And now I can feel that I've cut through that circle in its entirety, so I can lift that away. So you can see that's a really nice clean cut. Now what you need to do is just go into the centre part and cut that out in exactly the same way. there we go. That's how to cut a piece of 2mm cardboard. Now if you want to cut even thicker cardboard, so probably up to about 5mm, just use this sort of technique and you're not going to go far wrong. So we have our crescent moon shape there. I'm just going to add a little bit of texture to that, so I'm going to use some old clay that I've had knocking around for a bit. There's plenty of different colours in there, so I'll just merge them all together. Doesn't really matter about the colour because we're going to paint over it. So I'm just going to use my rolling pin. I'm just going to roll this out to about a thickness of between 1 and 2mm. Okay, so just keep on pushing that down, and it's just got to be big enough really to go over our crescent moon. So just keep on taking it aside and just rolling that out. Okay, just pop that on so we're near enough there. So I'm just going to take some clay from that side, pop it there. Okay, you get the idea. So it's just enough to cover the moon shape. Okay, so allow for shrinkage, which is normally between about 10 and 15%. You can see that is plenty big enough. So I'm just going to place that over our moon, and then I'm going to use some texture plates. Now I've created these myself using a product from FMM, which is called the Soft Then Strong. It's an air drying polymer clay. So in the past, when I've done mixed media projects and I've created backgrounds using things like the plaster paste, it's created really beautiful texture that I wanted to replicate. So I've actually used the air drying polymer clay to actually cast from that, so you can see the texture that I've actually got on there. Okay, so that's how I've done it. I've waited for those to dry. Now I can actually use these as texture plates. So I'm just going to go for possibly a mix of a couple of different ones. I'm just going to press that directly onto our clay. Okay, so that's going to give the moon some texture. So there you go, you can see straight away if I just hold that one up. Okay, you're going to get instant texture on the moon. So I'm just going to go all the way around there. Just going to keep on moving my texture plate randomly. Okay, so we don't get like a repeating pattern, and just press that over the shape. Okay, so that is the texture for the moon already in place. So now I'm just going to take that off there. Like I say, allowing for shrinkage, obviously, which is about 10 to 15%. I'm just going to take the rest of the clay off. Okay. And then, if I want, I can possibly reuse that on another part of the project. So again, just go all the way around, allowing for that little bit of shrinkage. Okay. So I'm just going to leave that to dry, and then once that is fully dry, then I'm going to make sure that the clay is actually stuck to the cardboard, and then we can paint over that in whatever colours we so wish. So in the end, the angel is going to sit sort of like about there on our crescent moon. So probably we'd go for maybe a silver or grey moon with highlights here and there. So now we're going to create the texture on the main back panel for our project. So I've got a piece of MDF here, and I've got some modelling paste, and let's see how much we've actually got in there. Hopefully enough to do this project. Yeah, okay, right, so I am literally just going to whack this on here. Okay, so we're going to use it all, I feel. Got a fair bit in there. Okay, and we are just going to create ourselves some texture. If we've got any lumps in there, I'm just going to take those out. Okay, so it's going to get a little bit messy. Let's just keep on taking that out. I'm just going to use another palette knife here just to get some of that out. Okay, so just plonk that on there, and I'm just going to smooth that out. So I'm just going to place that to one side for the moment, and then just using my palette knife. It's a bit like icing a cake. Well, maybe you wouldn't want me to ice your cake, but we're just going to smooth that over to start with, and then we'll go back in and we'll add a little bit of texture to that. So it's just making sure that we really have enough of the paste to cover this piece of MDF. So I'm just going to go on there, and I'm just going to pounce, okay, my palette knife just over the top there, just like so. Okay, so this is going to be like the night sky, so we're actually going to be painting this sort of like dark blues and blacks. So I will be applying colour to this afterwards. Okay, so just randomly going over there. So there is our texture. I'm just going to leave that to dry. I've just got a reel of tape there, just so it doesn't stick to the surface. I'm just going to lay that on top of there, and we can let that dry. Something like that is probably going to take a couple of hours. Once it's dry, then we're going to paint that sort of blacks and blues to represent a midnight sky. So it's back to our moon shape now. Now it's all completely dry. I'm just going to take off all of the clay that spills over the edge there, and I'm going to use a craft knife to do that. So I'm just going to flip it over, and then just very carefully I'm just going to score around quite lightly. Okay, and that will take off all of the clay that we don't need. So just go around like so. Just be careful on the fine bits on the end there. Okay, and again I'm just going to snip that side as well. And again we're just going to go on the centre bit there, and we'll remove that. If you wish, you can use sandpaper and a block to remove the clay. It's entirely up to you. This is paper air drying clay, so it's really nice and easy to cut and shape even after it has dried. So let's just take that little bit off there. Okay, now the thing we've just got to decide is whether we actually need to glue this into position, because we only pressed it down onto the cardboard. It does look pretty good to me. I'm just going to use a sanding block just to go around the edges, just to neaten it up a little bit. you can see the texture that we have on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just clear the bench a little bit. Okay, we're still going to be using our messy matte. I'm just going to mix up a grey, sort of a mid-tone grey. Okay, so a little bit of white and then a little bit of black there as well. So I'm just using acrylic paint. I'll just go for a little bit more of the white, and then we're just going to mix that up. Okay, we're going to use a large softish brush here. So this is going to be the colour of the moon. Okay, I think we can go a little bit darker than that. So just add a little bit more of the black acrylic, just a little bit at a time. My golden rule is, you know, you can add colour, it's more difficult to take it away. So again, just mix that in, and there we go. Okay, that's sort of like a nice sort of mid-tone. So just make sure that it's all mixed in. Okay. Now because this is quite a thick object, just be sure to paint the sides or the edges as well as the top. Okay, so I'm just going to go on with that. So we're just covering all of that. Okay. So just make sure that if you've used odd colour clay like I did, just to use some up, that all of that colour has now gone. Okay, which it has. And then I'm just going to blast that with a heat gun just to make sure it's all dry before we go on to the next colour. Right, all that is dry now. So now we're going to mix up a darker shade of the grey. So this is the original colour that we have here. So I'm just going to put a spot of the black in there. I'm just going to give that a mix up. And this way you can see exactly how much darker your new colour is, because you've got your original colour by the side of it. So I think we're going to go probably a little bit darker than that maybe. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm just going to add another dot of the black. I want it to be quite recognisable as being a different colour entirely. Let's have a look. That's probably more like it. There we go. Just make sure that that is mixed in really nicely. Okay, like so. Once again, we're going to be using the dry brush technique. So for those of you who don't know what the dry brush technique is, it's a case of applying the paint with very, very little of the paint actually on your brush. So at the moment, if I was to go over with this paintbrush, there's no way you'd get a nice dry brush effect. So as you can see, what I'm doing, I'm just taking the paint off there. Okay, so there we go. You can see it's completely loaded, this brush is. So now I've got hardly any paint actually on that brush, and I'm going to lightly just stroke over, and you can see straight away by doing that I am actually just picking up on the highlights, okay, or on the highest points actually on our moon there. Okay, so I'm just going to go over that just very, very lightly. Okay, you probably won't need any more of the paint actually on there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep on going around. If I feel I'm running out, then I can always add a little bit more paint to my brush, but at the moment I'm quite happy with how that is going. Okay, so you can see you need hardly any of the paint. So I've probably gone a little bit over the top there with the amount that I've mixed up. So if you want it slightly darker in some areas, then just keep on brushing over just very, very lightly. just to pick up on that beautiful texture that we applied using our custom texture plate earlier on. So there we go, there is the moon. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go around the edges, but I'm just going to dry that off beforehand. Okay, so I just dried that off. So at the moment, as you can see on the edges, it's just the original colour grey. So I'm just going to go in there and just going to sort of like tap my brush just a little bit randomly, just so we get a nice sort of coloration on there as well. So just randomly, just the bristles sort of on there, and it's going to sort of like replicate that nice sort of colouring that we've got on the top there. Okay, so just keep on going like so. Okay, so that's part of it done. So now we're just going to go, we've got the darker colour there, we're now going to go even lighter. Okay, so even lighter than the grey we have there. So we're going to pop that on. Okay, we're just going to mix that into the original colour that we have there. So again, just mix that in. Okay, make sure you don't get too much of the dark going into that. Okay, again, just load that brush up as best you can. Okay, dry brush technique, so we're going to then knock all that colour off there. Okay, and then we're just going to go in there and we're just going to go in and just add a little bit of that colour just randomly here and there. Obviously it's going to pick up on the high points that are already there, so it's going to colour back over some of the original dark grey that we put on, but that's fine. Okay, so the idea is we want the moon to look obviously old and nice and textured, and now we're just going to go in with the darker again. Okay, so just go back, like I said, it's just about aging the moon, so you can keep on going over with the different colours until you're happy with the overall look. Okay, and the more colours of or more colours of the grey tone, the better it's going to be. Okay, let's just have a look at that. So that's looking pretty nice now. So we've got lots of different colours of the grey there. Okay, so I'm just going to just add a little bit more of the darker back in there. Okay. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, right, so now I'm just going to add a little bit more of the black back in there. Okay, and then after this we've just got one more colour that we want to add. Okay, just one more after this. I think we're going to go really quite dark on this one. It's all about layering the colours. Okay. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so again, just take off the majority of the colour. I just want to particularly just sort of like shade just one side of the moon, you know, and hope that that's going to give us like a little bit of dimension to it even more so. So it's like the shading of a ball. It's just like on one edge. Just keep on building up the colour, building up the colour. Okay. Let's have a look there. So we're getting there. We're getting there. let's have a look. So it's going to take a little bit of time to build that up. Let's have a look. Okay, so that's sort of it, I think. Okay, right. So now we're just going to have a little bit of a tidy up, because we've got one more colour to add, and we've got something else to add with that as well. So I've had to tidy up, and I'm using some white acrylic paint now. So my idea is that I'm just going to go around this sort of edge of the moon, or the crescent moon, and I'm using white acrylic paint, but really the paint is going to act like a glue, or that's the idea, because I want to add some iridescent glitter into that as well. So I need to work pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to go just on one side of the moon. Okay, so let's see if this is going to work or not. So just dry brush that on the best we can. Okay, let's just lessen the hard edge if we can a little bit. Okay, quickly pop that on, and then we're just going to throw the glitter on there as well. So I don't know whether the paint is really going to be that sticky when it's that dry, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's just go onto there. Just really overdo it to start with. Okay, give that a couple of seconds to hopefully dry. Maybe just add a little bit more just there. Just going to add a little bit of sparkle, hopefully, to our moon. Okay, so a couple of seconds to dry. Just lift that up. Give that a bit of a knock. Whoa. Okay, I'm just going to leave that to dry a little bit, and then I'm going to just brush off some of the glitter, because at the moment it's like in all the crevices as well. It probably hasn't dried there, but I'll just make sure that I brush that off on the darker areas. But that is the sort of effect that we actually want, which is quite nice. Okay, so I'm going to pop that aside just to dry for a couple of minutes. Okay, that idea didn't really work with the white paint being used as glue, so I'm going to have to think a little bit differently. So I'm going to try it again. Okay, this time I'm going to use a clear varnish to do it, and hopefully that will work. But let's have a look. Okay, so need very little on there. Okay, and I'm probably going to have to do this in smaller stages. So let's have a look. Okay, and then I'm just going to quickly just pop that on, so, and see if that works any better. Okay, tap that off. I think that's worked a little bit better. So again, just onto there. It's quite hard to dry brush something you actually can't see. So again, just pop that on. Tap it off. We've definitely got something there this time, that's for sure. Okay. And then pop that. Okay, let's see if that's any more successful than the white paint. So again, just tap that off. Okay, we've definitely got a nice twinkly edge to that. Again, I'm going to let that one just dry. I'm going to blast that dry, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look whether we've still got the twinkly glitter still on there. Okay, so I've let that dry. And now I'm just brushing off any excess glitter that is stuck on our moon. So I'm going pretty hard with the brush. Okay, and that has worked a lot better than using the white acrylic paint as a glue. So just brush that off like so. Okay, I don't think any more glitter is going to come off for the moment, and that is a better coating there that we have. So we've just got a nice shimmer on our crescent moon. So the idea is we're going to stick our angel sort of like onto there. That's looking pretty nice, isn't it, already? So the next part is to bring back in our main background, which is this one here, because that's sort of like going to go there. Okay, so we're just going to paint this. I think we're going to go for sort of like dark purples and dark blues, and then we're probably going to edge it with black and a little bit of a sprinkling of possibly glitter. We'll see when we get there. So that's the next stage, is to actually paint this. So we've got our red, we've got our blue, mix those together, we're going to get a purple, and then we've got the black to darken everything as well. So let's just go in there with the dark blue first. That is way too light for what we want it to start with, that's for sure. Okay, so we really want the colours just on the side, and then we just want the purple down here. So I'm going to mix all the colours as we go. So a little bit of red into there, equal amount, thereabouts. Okay, make sure we have a cleanish brush. So I'm just going to get a mix for our purple to start with. Okay, we're going to need quite a lot more red. You know, we've got quite a deep blue at the moment. So just keep on adding the colour until we get that sort of like darkish purple. Okay, it's coming there. So I'm literally just going to go in randomly. You're going to need to press the brush quite deep because we've got lots of texture in there. Okay, and you're obviously painting onto white as well, so it's quite random at the moment. We'll just go on with the blue to start with. Now we may find that we need to mix up some more colour as well, so just make sure that you're pressing your brush quite firmly down into the crevices of the texture. You know, this is, as I said, quite a textured piece that we made with the texture paste earlier on, so we just want to make sure there's no white or lighter areas showing through. Okay. So I've covered everything now. Now we're going to just do a bit of blending. So although we're still going to be using, I say dry brush technique, it's completely not a dry brush, but we're just like brushing one colour into another. Okay, so we're not using much pressure there, and it's, like I say, similar to dry brush, but it's obviously not dry brush if that makes sense at all. So just literally brushing in from our colour just over into our other, and you can see there it's doing a pretty good job of just blending those two colours together. So at the moment I'm just using the purple brush to do the blending, then in a moment I'll go in and I'll use the blue brush to do exactly the same, and then that will just help blend that in. You can go quite deep into the colour as well. Okay, so I'm just about done there. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to let that dry, and then we're going to go over around the edges using some black just to make it a little bit more of a night sky, and then we're going to flick it probably with some white paint or some silver. I'm undecided on that there, so I'm just going to let that one dry. So our background is near enough dry. Okay, near enough dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in some white over the top. The reason I'm going to add white is because I just want to add what was the original colour of our angel's gown that she was wearing, which was this. Now the only way that's going to really stand out is if I have white underneath. So I'm just going to dry brush some white and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so literally just there we go. Okay, that's the white dry brushing on the top, and instantly you can see it just makes all of that beautiful texture jump. So now my plan is to go in with some other colours, possibly the blue that we used earlier, and then this sort of like purple that we used originally on the gown of our angel. I'm just going to add some of that in there as well. Hopefully the white underneath will make that jump. Let's have a look. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that colour, not too much. Okay, and then just going to dry brush that on, hopefully, and where the white is, then we should see some of that colour. But obviously it's not going to be too prominent, but it would be more prominent because the white is there. So I'm just going to brush some of that on. Like I say, it's quite a subtle type of look we're going for, so it's not an in-your-face finish. Okay, so it's just going in there, just adding a little bit of that. You probably can't see on the camera what it's actually doing, but the white is definitely helping that sort of like purpley magenta colour stand out from the black. So that's exactly what we want. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of blue, so I'm just going to clean the brush again. Okay, I'm just going to add some blue in the same way. So this was quite a bright blue, so this could again go horribly wrong, but it's all in the playing, isn't it? You know, let's have a look. This could be way too bright. So I'm just gonna try a small bit on the corner here, and if it looks really bad, then we'll go for something else. Oh, actually that's quite nice. I quite like that. Yep. Okay, we're going to go for the blue. We're going to be brave. So basically wherever there was white left, we're just going to go in with the blue, just blend it in with the purple there. Okay. And then that's building up that background beautifully. You know, there's lots of different colours on there, but now it's just made it a little bit more interesting than the original colour. Just by adding that white, we're now able to add some more colours just on the peaks of that texture. So there is the background completely dry, and you can see just all of that magical detail that is actually on there. So lots of dry brushing, adding colours, just going over colours and blending colours, but you know, it's just going to make for the overall effect. Right, so the next step is now just to add some black on the edge there, just to like bring it in. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I have my trusty reel of masking tape that I'm going to place underneath. I just find it easy then to spin everything around whilst I'm brushing in. Right, so we're going to need some black here. We're also going to need a brush, and possibly we're going to use a sponge as well. Let's just see how this goes with the brush to start with. So I'm just going to add some black onto the mat here, so just so we can see what we're doing. We're just literally just going to go for black, and then we're going to brush that in from the edge inwards. Okay, just like so. And that's just going to black out all of the colour that was there. Okay, we're going to apply this gradually. Okay, it's not in one fell swoop, so again a little bit of dry brushing. Again, you know, if everyone was paid £1 for every time I said that, everyone would be very, very rich. So let's just go in there. So you can see already, okay, that black is just making that nice border. Spin it round, and again just go in from this. I'm just going to go to all four sides just to build up that border, and then come and join us again. So there it is, our background completed. I've also painted the edges as well on all four sides. So we're just going to bring our angel back in. We're not going to stick it down quite yet. I've got a couple of other ideas, but as you can see, that is the beautiful contrast that we have. Let's just move her up there a little bit. Now I have got this sort of like clock face, and I'm sort of thinking possibly I might use that, because this is totally not planned, but it does fit sort of like perfectly inside of our moon. Okay, I'm not sure to use it or not. That's going to then fit in there. We've then got lots of cogs and what have you that I could add to the mix. So just pop those, and I have got loads, I mean loads of cogs. Maybe do those in silver or gold, a little bit of both. But you know, that's possibly the sort of the idea I'm wanting. But first of all, we're just going to splash some colour, whether it's going to be gold, whether it's going to be silver, whether it's going to be even white, just for the stars in the background. But that's the next step. So now come the stars. I think I'm just going to go with white, to be honest with you, just so there's a real nice contrast. So added a little bit of white acrylic paint. We're going to add some water to that as well, so it's really, really watered down. And I have my splatty brush. I'm sure there's a technical name for this type of brush, but it's my splatty brush. So let's just have a look. Probably need a little bit more water in there. Okay. And then just place it over there. And then we want quite a lot of stars. Okay, it's a starry night. So there we go. I'm going to leave it at that. Wait until that's dry, and then we can start adding possibly that clock face with the angel and the moon. We'll just sort of lay everything out and see how everything looks. So the plan has been hatched. So this is how I'm going to sort of like lay everything out. I'm going to put a couple of moulded stars up the top there, but the rest is going to be cogs. I'm going to go for a black finish on all of the cogs, and I'm going to dry brush them using sort of like an antique metallic finish. I've got a time sort of like piece in the middle that's got all of the workings of like clocks, etc. That's going to fit in there. And then I'm going to sort of like verdigris that up a little bit, maybe give it a little bit of a rust effect as well. So first of all, I'm going to stick the moon in position. I think I'm sort of happy with how that goes just there. So I'm just going to remove all of the cogs for the moment. Just keep the moon in place. Okay, then we're going to just stick that down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the clock face in position. I'm going to go out as far as I can with that. So I'm just going to stick another, this is how my brain works. I know I want the angel to sit there, so she just covers up a little bit of the clock. So that's why I want her sitting there. I'm pretty happy with how the moon is. I don't think she could come around any further, or could the moon come around further? Let's just have a look. No, I quite like it where it's like round about there. So it is just all about playing at the moment. So I'm sort of happy with where that goes. I'm just going to move that over to there. So the clock is going to roughly fit there. I'm just going to put this little key just there, and that is basically just to tell me where the moon is going to come to on that point. Right, I'm gonna lift this up very carefully. Okay, we'll come back to that bit in a minute. I'll lift that back up. And I'm just going to run a pencil on the back of our moon, pop that back that way, put everything back where it lives. So let's have a look. That was there, like so. I'm just going to pop that key back just there so we know where the moon comes. Okay, I'm going to lift that out, and I'm going to use a silicone glue just on the back of the moon, and then we're going to stick that into position. So just sticking on one side using silicone glue. I'm not going to go right to the edge because I'm going to like press it down, so I don't want the glue oozing out too much, but obviously I want it to stick everything in position. Okay, so that should be enough just there, and then I'm going to stick that back down. So we have the guide there, everything is in position. I'm just going to press that down, and then I'm going to let that dry, because another little thing I want to do around the very edge of the moon is just to go with a little bit of white dry brushing just outwards so it looks as though it's glowing. But in the meantime, I've got all of these elements here to paint black, so that's what I'm going to do next. So the moon has now dried, where I've stuck that to the background. So now it's time to do a little bit of dry brushing just around the outer part of the moon, so it looks like it's glowing. So again, we're going to be using the dry brushing technique. Just going to be using a little bit of white acrylic paint. So we really don't want to overdo it, so just add a little bit at a time, and then just gonna brush out from the moon. Okay, so like I say, don't overload your brush. So I'm literally just going on there until there's no more paint on my brush. It's a real gradual glow. We want to make it so it looks like the moon is just glowing. Okay, so literally just from the edge of the moon, and then just outwards until there's no paint left on your brush at all. And that's going to give you a really nice faded look. So you can see that glow is already coming into play just there. Okay, so just again, just brush outwards from the moon. So I'm just going to carry on going around that, and we'll have a look at what it looks like when I've done. So there we go, there is the glow around our moon. Really, really nice and easy to do, just using a very, very small touch of dry brushing using white acrylic paint. So for those of you who have watched a couple of my demonstrations before, or tutorials, you'll know that I love the Cadence metallic gilding paints. So I use three colours, the antique gold, the copper and the antique silver, to produce this type of effect. So I've already blacked all of those elements, including the clock face and all of those cogs. So now I'm going to go in and do a very similar effect to all of those, so they all key in really nicely with this, the centerpiece for the clock. Right, I have all of my elements ready now. So I've done all of the dry brush on there to make them look a bit more metallic. The next step is I'm going to add some verdigris type look. So what I'm going to use there is Distress Resist Spray, along with this one, which is an embossing powder, which is a sage colour, but it gives a really, really great sort of like verdigris look. Now if you've never ever used Distress Resist spray, it is messy, so you'll need either a splat box or some paper around everywhere where you don't want this stuff to go. It's basically like a glue in a spray, and it does squirt everywhere, believe me. But I'm going to use that to give the sort of random verdigris type look on all of these elements. So wish me luck. Okay, I've got all the elements that I'm going to spray. I'm going to just spray a few at a time, because you do have to be quite quick with this one. So literally I'm just going to squirt some of this on here. Like I said, it is really random. Okay, let's have a look, some at the back there. Okay, like I say, you do have to be pretty quick with this one, so I'm just going to quickly get a clean sheet of paper, and I'm going to put all of the elements that I have just sprayed onto there. So being pretty quick, and I'm going to add some more of the spray just by turning that upside down, adding a bit more glue to the areas that possibly need some more. Okay, just quickly pop those onto a clean sheet of paper. I'm just going to quickly swap that out with these elements, and then what I'm going to do is use our embossing powder. Okay, so just quickly go over everything that has the resist spray on. Now, as well as being used for this sort of application, the resist spray can also be used, as the name suggests, as a resist, to be used with oxide and distress inks. So that is another use for it. Okay, so I think I have everything covered there. Just make sure. And the spray, although a little bit on the messy side to be using, it does give a great random type of a look. So that's all of the elements on there. Just give them a couple of seconds to dry. I'm just going to lift them up from there, just give them a little bit of a tap. At the moment you probably can't see too much of the verdigris type look that I'm after. Just give that a bit of a tap, and again I'm just going to place that aside, and then I will heat those up in a moment. So after using the Distress Resist spray, what I recommend you do is actually take the nozzle off and then just spray hot water through it. Okay, then that will clean the nozzle and you'll be good to go next time. So here we just have one element that I've used the Resist spray and the green or the sage embossing powder, and this will give our verdigris look. So I'm just about to heat it, and then after that I'll heat all of the other elements as well. So there's just a couple of the cogs there, so you can see some have got virtually none on, like this one here. You just get it in the right light and it just glistens. So it just adds that little bit of realism to our project. So I've got loads of cogs here now ready to add to our main project. So I've just got 3 stars here that are cast from a mould using some resin. I've just painted over them with some black gesso, and now I'm just going to add some metallic paint, the ancient coin gold from Prima and Finnabair. So it's the same colour gold that I used to dry brush onto the angel's wings. That's the colour I'm going to do those stars. I'm just going to quickly go over those, and then we're just going to age them a little bit using, I think the metallic paint is called Steampunk, which is from the same range from Prima. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all 3 of the stars to start with this gold. So the next paint I'm going to use is another metallic from the same range from Finnabair and Prima, which is called Brass Hardware. Okay, so it's sort of like a coppery colour, so I'm just going to go in there and do a little bit of dry brushing just on those stars, just to age them, distress them a little bit. Okay, so it's only going to be a little bit, but it's just enough to just take the overall gold look off. So now it's time to arrange everything. I know for sure that my stars are going to want to go somewhere up there. Okay, maybe something like that. Okay, so I know that that's a dead cert. May go round those like I've done the moon, so we'll just have to have a think about that. Now here's our verdigris and aged clock face. That's sort of like going to sit in there. Okay, so you can see it sort of like blends in, but just stands out just enough to add that little bit of interest. Just make sure we've got number 12 up the top there, and then we have our centerpiece there. There's like the workings of the clock, but we can just keep on playing with those until we're sort of like happy with the configuration. And then I've got loads and loads of these cogs as well, so I'm going to have a play, see where I'm possibly going to put those, and then we can stick everything down. So this is how it's looking at the moment. I've got quite a few cogs down here. I've cut into a few, so it looks like they're sort of like behind the moon. We've got the center piece there, which is really nicely placed, because it actually helps keep a little angel there perfectly in position. It sort of like rests on there, so that's quite nice. The foot sort of like hangs, which is quite nice as well. Then we've got the stars up the top there. I'm probably going to put some cogs behind there. So as you can see, it's all coming together pretty nicely now. So all that's left to do is just to stick all of those elements in place. So with glue in hand, I'm going to get gluing. So I'm just a little bit concerned about the leg just sort of like hanging, or the foot hanging over there. So what I've tried to do is to like build it up a little bit, and I'm going to put a cog underneath there to raise it up, so the cog will actually be just underneath that foot, just holding it and supporting it a little bit more. So I'm just going to add another cog up there, and then we should nearly be done. And here finally is my finished piece. From the angel to the moon, to the background, to the clock face, to the stars. Everything just comes together really nicely. I'm really happy with the contrast from the background to our focal point that is the angel. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and you can join me again real soon for another. Thanks for watching.